Welcome back to Relationships Matter, the podcast. I am Chanel Scott.
And I am Josh Powell.
We have a very special guest here with us today, Mr. Stephen Stat Jackson. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
We're excited to have you.
Well overdue.
Well overdue.
My brother, man. Super grateful to have you here. We'll start with the easy question first. The man, the husband, the father, the activist, the businessman, the hooper, the game changer. But outside of all of that, who is Stephen Jackson?
I love all those titles. I'll take activists out because I don't want to diminish the work that Tamika Mallory and those people do every weekend, every day. I was in a situation where I had to ride for a close friend. Same thing I do for you. So I don't consider that activism. You know what I'm saying? They really do some real work that I wouldn't want to disrespect by saying I'm equal as them or can say have the same title. Right. You know what I mean? But I appreciate it. For me, I'm somebody who I wear my emotions on my sleeve, right? You know how I'm feeling by my face, but I just can't hide the way I feel because I'm passionate about my opinions. I'm passionate about people. I'm passionate about doing right, seeing people doing right. I'm passionate about standing up for people when they're getting bullied. Like I'm passionate about a lot of things that people with success wouldn't normally speak on, especially publicly. Mm-hmm. And I'm somebody who stand up for all races, but I'm pro-black than a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my language, but that's just who I am. I just love hard in so many different ways and a lot of different aspects that people won't understand. Right. Because I can be a basketball player one day, then I can be in the neighborhood giving back to 29 states on my own dime. Then I can show up on do a podcast, and I can go coach a basketball team. I can do all these things, so I never limited myself. But I always lead with my heart, and I think that's why the favor of God is always protecting me to continue to be successful. So it ain't really nothing I'm doing besides believing in myself. But I'm just relying on that favor to continue to protect me because I made a lot of mistakes where I shouldn't even been here, as you know. So just that favor, I'm just trying to continue to wake up every day and show Allah I deserve these blessings because I know I could have messed it up a long time ago.
No, absolutely, and a beautiful response. And I love how you framed it and how you talked about what you do, right, for so many others. But what does Stack do for Stack? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are the things that you're doing to grow, to elevate, right, as we transition into relationships? Because the biggest relationship is with yourself.
Right. You know what? That's a good question, bro. I spend so much time other people. Like, I can't even answer that, to be honest. Because especially as a man, like, if you're a protector and provider, you might go walk out the house one day and see some people that you just bump into, but you're going to take on a role. Yeah, I do this for you. Not even knowing you taking on another role as a man, just trying to help somebody else. Right. And we do that a lot.
Right.
And I think that I'm that's a good question, bro. I think I'm caught up in that because I don't do nothing for myself besides pray. I think that's the only thing I do for myself.
Why not, bro?
That's a good question. I think I'm so focused on the people that's, relying on me. You know what I'm saying? My mama, like I just lost my little brother and my little sister back-to-back months at the end of last year. So like I'm seeing so many people, my brother's wife, his kids, I'm seeing so many people going through it. And you know what I'm saying? And like God has really blessed me, bro. So I'm just trying to be there for them. You know what I'm saying? I really ain't had time to. That's a good question, bro. I've never been asked that. And I can't answer it. I wouldn't even lie to you. I can't answer it because I don't know what I do for myself besides pray.
Yeah, the reason why I ask, because I feel like there's so many men that's in your position, right? We ripping, we running, we chasing, we doing all these things for everybody else. Mm-hmm. And then we on E. You know what I mean? And when you look up, especially us as black men, it's like our life expectancy is getting lower and lower and lower. And that's the reason why I ask, you know what I mean? Because you show so much love to so many people, bro. But like, what is Stack really doing? Have taken a break to just focus, like, man, like, what am I doing for me? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's not related to pouring into someone else or another situation. So that's why I wanted to give you that. Maybe it's something we can tap into later on as we keep moving in this conversation.
Yeah, because I can't answer that, bro. And you know, maybe that's something I need to do because I know it ain't material. You know what I'm saying? It has to be something else because I don't have the answer. I don't. Word.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I have a question. As you pour into so many other people, who's pouring into you?
My family. I have a strong support system. I can't lie. I got a strong support system. You know, we all, like I said, we all going through it right now as far as, you know, losing my little brother and my little sister. But I've always had a close family. Like my mom and her sisters, they get together every Saturday, cook. So I was able to go home this past weekend and see my family and friends. So, but I mean, as a man and you know, as being a breadwinner of the family, people, especially your family, they don't want to overstep. So I could definitely use more support. But as a man, you don't ask for that because, you know, that's kind of like showing a sign of weakness. And
why do you feel that way?
Because my grandfather never did it. So I follow his footsteps. That's why I got his name, Jesse Jackson. That's my middle name. That's his name, Jesse Jackson. So I seen him open a business, a restaurant for my family. I seen him raise 7 kids and 8 grandkids all in one house. You know, I've seen him the strongest man possible. My grandmother died in the 80s. She's never had a job or drove a car. My grandfather took care of her whole life. So I've seen what a man can do and what a man's supposed to do, right? And he did it, made it look easy. So I've been able to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's been ups and downs, but for the most part, I made it look easy, bro. And that's all, you know, once again, going back to the favor of God, dog. So it's just me trying my best to follow the footsteps of somebody who I know is righteous, right? Because there's so many examples out here not to follow, especially today. I know somebody who I know was righteous, who went to church every day, who got up every morning and prayed, and him and my grandmother said every one of their grandchildren's name in their prayer every morning. Wow. So that's what I seen. So I'm just trying to, even though I'm not close to him, I'm getting emotional. I'm not close to him, but I'm trying my best to follow the footsteps.
Well, you were recently married, right?
I got married. It'll be 2 years in December.
Okay, and being a professional basketball player, like how did you know that this woman was the one for you? For
trial and error.
Okay.
I made so many mistakes.
Talk about that.
I have 7 kids by 5 different women, and you know, I would honestly wouldn't be a man if I wouldn't say 3 of those situations went wrong because I was living the wrong life, right? Just mistakes I learned from being young, coming from nothing and having everything and not being taught, you know, not having a father figure in the house of what to expect. I made those mistakes and I'm glad I made them because, you know what I'm saying, I'm glowing now, but those mistakes hurt a lot of people. It included me, you know, not being able to be there. I didn't live with none of my kids, except my youngest. With my 2 of my kids I raised, my 2 oldest I raised until their mom, until I started making money, and she took them from me, and because she wanted child support, and so that ended up severing my relationship with my 2 oldest, where their birthdays was on September 2nd and 4th. This is how the relationship is. You know, I'm always keep it real with you. The one, my second youngest, she just turned 23. Her mom kind of had turned on me her whole life, but I still been there. I still be around. I still do what I can. But her sister that lives in the same house, my oldest daughter is my best friend. So that bothers me. I don't understand where that went wrong. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand how that went wrong. I'm raising both of y'all, but so, you know, I'm still dealing with the relationships with 1 out of my 7. I have 2 boys. One is a freshman at Arizona. My other son is a senior in high school. But I just learned a lot, man. I made a lot of mistakes and I own up to them because I don't ever want my kids to think that I'm demeaning their mothers in a way when I speak about the things that I've done for them, right? Because a lot of times not being there, they'll make it seem like you're totally absent when that's not true.
Right.
Because the same reason for my absence is the money that you wanted, right? Because a lot of those situations, you know, even with my wrong, a lot of those situations came to a head with evilness. And that's just being honest. Want more than you deserve. And I think for my kids, it hurt them a lot, but I stayed at it. I kept paying child support even though I wasn't there. And I learned a lot, I learned a lot. I kept doing my job. It was frustrating. And women, people don't know, not even women, but bad parents, period, don't know how that hurts a parent who's actually trying, right? Yeah. I lived 5 minutes from my father till I was 15. Never came to my house, never nothing. So I didn't want to be that. You know what I mean? Even though I wasn't with him, I made sure that my presence was felt. So now today, I'm going on 2 years married. I've been with my wife going on 10 years. And she has a daughter who's in her first year of college who I've raised since she was in 5th grade. And I got everything right with her. My 9-year-old Scholar, as you know, I got everything right with her because I made so many mistakes in the past that I own up to. I'm not running from. And so if I had to make those mistakes and be an idiot the time I was in the NBA, to be a great father now to the ones that I have a relationship with now, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
When we get back, I want to talk about, that transition because you spoke about your experiences. But as we know, brother, because we are athletes and we see a lot, what went into you picking your partner? So we'll talk about that when we get back. Relationships Matter, the podcast.
Relationships Matter. Welcome back to Relationships Matter, the podcast. So before we get back into our conversation with our guest, Stephen Jackson, guys, I want you to go and like, share, and subscribe to all of the platforms where you watch your favorite podcasts. So before we went to break, we were talking with you, Stephen, and asking you what goes into how you chose your partner. And Josh, I think you wanted to elaborate on that.
Yeah, because, just as a man first, but obviously you've been able to play the game at the highest level. You've lived a life that's different than most. And I know you've been open somewhat about past experiences, especially the situation that happened where you ended up walking away, day of your wedding. But focusing on something a little different because, you've transitioned. How did you pick your partner, your wife that you have now? What went into that decision, especially coming from the hurt, the pain, and the other experiences that you've had?
I wanted somebody who don't mind being regular, right? Being a public figure, 9 out of 10 times, you attract what you are, right? You attack somebody that wants to be in the light, that looks good in the light, that trophy wife, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, from trial and error though, but like I knew when I stopped playing basketball and I was finna move outside Atlanta, I knew that my next partner after I got divorced was somebody that I was gonna spend the rest of my life with. But I had to make sure that she was comfortable with being regular, regardless how much money I make or what I do once we together. You know me, I like to be a regular person, and she's that, right? She don't mind being home while I go work. She don't mind if I say, baby, let's just instead of going to clubs or going to trips, let's just have house parties with other couples every weekend. She cool with that. Like whatever I'm cool with, she cool with. That type of situation. It ain't forced or daddy, I need 10 bags, that type of relationship. Like if I get it for us, a plus. It's not asking for it. Right? I wake up in the morning, I'm just giving you an example. I wake up in the morning getting ready for my trip. Toiletry bag's already packed. I never had that before. You know what I'm saying? That's what I wanted. I wanted a woman instead of somebody who wanted to be with me for the wrong reasons, right? And I chose that, so I take the blame because that's what I was attracted to at the time. Right. That trophy type wife. And my wife is still beautiful, but her attitude is different. Right? She don't wear makeup. She don't care about Instagram and stuff like that. I was into that. So that's what I was looking for, right? So I think I was looking for the total opposite of the reason why I walked away from the wedding the day of. You know what I'm saying? All those situations that I did, even with me getting divorced and it being my fault, you know, I still had to look for something different because that we could have worked that out. You know what I'm saying? Right. In my marriage, we could have worked that out. But just the fact that at 5 years, the prenup was null and void, fighting for a relationship wasn't ideal no more. You see what I'm saying? But if that wasn't in place, I think the relationship we could have still been married. So I got somebody now that her main words, we ain't getting divorced. I don't care what it is. We're not getting divorced. We're gonna figure it out, we're gonna make it work. And that's the rider that I am, and that's the type of rider I need with me. You know what I'm saying? I finally found her.
No, that's beautiful. And outside of her riding for you, which is important, right? And I know you mentioned, you know, being regular. What are some character things that she displayed? You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I know you personally, you know what I'm saying, as a brother, as a man, and all these different facets. And it's not like you gonna let just anybody be in your space like that. So what are some things that she did that separated her from so many that you was like, oh man, this is it right here?
I'm gonna give you a perfect example. So when I first met her, you know, I lived in Mableton, and I had like probably 8 homeboys living with me at the time. I had met her, and we went on a date, and I ain't talked. So she just popped up at my house one night, and she cooked like fried chicken, a whole big old meal for all the homies. Okay. And left. And just left, right? So I'm like, and she just left, didn't, you know, I'm thinking if a girl bringing us food, she gonna stay, you know what I'm saying?
Chill,
we gonna chill, all that. She just left. So that alone showed me a different side of it. Like, she's not with me or not trying to be with me for just for Steven Jackson. She actually trying to show me that she care about me, and that, you know, that and like she really want to know me first. Like, she could have, most women would have stayed. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest. They would have stayed. You know what I'm saying? I knew that I had a woman. I knew she was different. You know what I'm saying? I knew she was different by how she made me wait, all those certain things that I never experienced. And another, I'll give you another situation. When we went out to eat and I took her home, and she told me I couldn't stay. But we had been together for a while, you know what I'm saying? But she told me I couldn't stay, but she gave me a key to the house. So the next day, she gave me the key because I was moving out the house in Mableton. So I couldn't stay, but she gave me a key telling me when you move, you can come here. So we've been living together ever since.
That's hard.
Yeah, so we dated a month, and she gave me the key, and we've been living together. Now we married.
So let me ask you a question. At what point did you change? Like, because you said you were attracted to a certain type of woman, like a trophy.
I got a type for sure. I got a type.
So what happened, or where did the transition take place where you was like, you know what, I'm no longer attracted to this?
Losing so much money, you know what I'm saying? Being in and out of court, a lot of stuff that I could have avoided, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, just the ups and downs, the tears, the frustration. And, you know, I'm gonna keep it real. You know, a lot of situations that went sour, I cried too. I was hurt just as much as them. You know what I'm saying? Because I love them women deeply. You know, I've been in a relationship with every woman I had a kid with. I was in a relationship with. It wasn't no, you know, just no one night stand. So I love these women. I cared about, I provided for these women. So a man don't provide for a woman he don't deeply love. You know, so I went through a lot during those times, like I said, and I lost a lot too. And I think it was meant for me to go through that, because I would not be here, this understanding, willing to listen, and you know, and willing to be open-minded about a lot of things if I didn't have that trial and error.
Okay.
What are some other ways to deal with or manage pain? Because I know you talked about, you know, crying and
I cry.
Like, what for me, you know, for example, the reason why I asked, bro, is because I've had so much trauma happen. I'm beyond numb. So when I went through my first divorce, I had to do a reset. And when I started going to therapy, I was trying to find it. Like, I needed to cry. I needed to figure out what that feels like. That's why I got all these tattoos. You know what I'm saying? That's one way I express myself. But what, outside of that, is there something else that you do that helps you, you know what I mean, release that pain, or release your frustration, or whatever it is that you're dealing with?
Besides staying busy, for me, And you know, I consume a lot of cannabis to keep me calm. Because it's been a vice of mine since I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I talk to my partner, I talk to my wife. Like,
Because it's taboo, right? They say men don't talk, but you just said that you do.
There's a lot of things that he's sharing today and that people say men don't do.
Yeah.
I mean, because the impression or when you think about an NBA ball player, you don't think about he's hurt. You know, you think, oh, he's on to the next.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or that he even cares for that matter, or he's dating multiple women. That's just what they do.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I grew up, learning. And so to hear you be expressive about, he said, which is true.
It is true.
But to be expressive about just the emotional side, because women, we don't think that men actually hurt. And I think as we continue to do this show, we are finding that men do hurt.
I'd rather talk to my partner when I know, it's not gonna be thrown in my face or somebody, because these days you gotta watch who you talk to about what going on in your house or what you're going on in life, because people try to use it against you.
Mm-hmm.
It's so many people that you think that ask you how you doing. They really don't care how you doing.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know how you doing or what you're doing, so they can either try to tarnish it or either try to be the first to a lot of people want to, instead of being right, they want to be first, right? Even if they know they completely wrong, they just want to be first at something.
Yep.
And a lot of times when people asking about you, they wish you well, but they don't wish well for you, right? So you can think they genuinely asking how you feel, and they just really trying to hold it against you. I've been through that too many times with people, so I'm comfortable with just talking to her, even if it's about stuff that she don't want to hear that might hurt her, But I gotta get it out with you, because if I don't get it out, it's gonna ball up inside of me, and it's gonna end up coming out on somebody that didn't deserve it. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody needs to be my shrink, or if anybody needs to be somebody who I confide in and tell the good and bad, the right and wrong to, it has to be her, because I know it's in my household, and if it get out, it came from one person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I know that. You know what I'm saying? So I just try to keep anything that I'm going through outside. Like, I have conversations with him, but the conversations we have dealt with a lot of situations in life at the same thing, as far as kids and women. So those conversations be dead on or from experiences. But the stuff that I be dealing with inside, and the stuff that I feel like I should hold deal or I'm dealing with, I definitely keep that in-house.
Okay.
No, so when we come back, Jack, definitely want to talk to you about the flip side of relationships, meaning your kids, their mothers, co-parenting. When we get back, Relationships Matter, the podcast.
Relationships matter. Welcome back to Relationships Matter, the podcast. So before we went to break, Josh, you asked a big question in terms of the co-parenting, the children.
Because I feel like this part of the conversation will help a lot of fathers.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I know myself, and Stacking myself, we both go through so many different things, but it's really like a 3-part situation, because you got the kids, you got their mothers, and your partner. You know what I'm saying? Because she holding you down, and then y'all are also, obviously a blended family because she had kids. So it's a lot of moving pieces in your dynamic. And I just wanted to first start with, you touched on it a little bit earlier, where you talked about you doing the best that you can for your kids. But first, how does that affect you? You know what I'm saying? Like, just the dynamic. Like, how does that affect, put a chink in your armor, basically?
It's probably the closest thing to, at times, when you can't be the father that you want to be because of bitter people. It's heartbreaking. Like, for real. Because we know so many deadbeat fathers out there that don't even care about the kids. I know too many. And I know I'm so far from that, right? Like I said, I have five women I have kids with. And 2 out of the 2 that cause me the most problems are the 2 I have 2 kids with. And that's been some painful times. Just the lies and You know, when your kids get a certain age, they only been told one thing because they're not in your household, so you really can't defend yourself, and everything you do is wrong because they're only hearing it from one side. And that is definitely frustrating when you know you're doing your part, when all that's been said about you, right? I've been in situations with my kids where I'll go to their basketball games and one of my kids wouldn't even come speak to me. Like in front of everybody. My other daughter come speak, my other daughter wouldn't even come say hi or nothing. And on the other side, with my son and my daughter, I go to my son games. The mom program, the daughter not even speak to me, but the day after the game, she'll call me to pay a car note. Like, but do you understand how that makes me feel though?
Right.
Like, they don't think about those things, but they still have, but me being a great father, they know they abuse it because they know I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna do my part regardless. But it hurt.
Right, absolutely.
I get in the car with my wife too many times. Too many times I done got in the car with my wife after games, not been able to talk to my son going to the games, and I just got to cry to her because it's frustrating. He got my name. You know what I'm saying? So being able to go to his games and he want to talk to you, it ain't him. It ain't him. But I understand the love I love my mother the same way. So he don't want to offend his mother, but that kills me.
Let me ask you a question though. When each time you exited these relationships, right? How did you exit? Like, was there a space where you guys could communicate? Did it end abruptly? I mean, was it infidelity? What was it? Because I think oftentimes
that shouldn't even matter.
I know it, but it does, because that's what's dictating the relationship.
It shouldn't matter though.
It should. It should matter. As a woman, I'm saying to you, it matters, right? Because they can't, they got to be able to process that too. They got to be able to process those emotions, because automatically that's where the bitterness comes from, because they have their own idea about why you left, and then you know why you left. But if there's never any communication, then you have these different narratives, and then it starts to infiltrate your relationship with your children, which is why situations happen.
That make a lot of sense. But with them two, that wasn't the situation. Okay. Like the one I was married to, another one, infidelity was a big part in those relationships going south. But the ones I have 2 kids with, it wasn't. My 2 oldest kids, I dated her from 9th grade to 12th grade. So we were high school sweethearts. But we both realized, once after I got to high school and I started playing basketball, our relationships, we were going 2 different directions in life. We were kids. We didn't understand that, but we had 2 kids. And to the point where when I started making money, she didn't even take me to court. I took myself to court and gave her money for child support, more than she deserved.
Right.
And so I don't know when did she decide to brainwash my kids to hate me, and I never understood it. I really didn't understand it when it was my oldest daughter is my best friend, but the same daughter living in the house, my other daughter living in the house with you hates me. I was like, I didn't get that. So.
Have you ever asked though?
I tried to ask, but I mean, directly ask, I didn't need to, because I got common sense. Because I'm there. I give her everything. I take care of everything they have. The house, everything came from my hard work. Right. If I didn't care, or if it was something I did, I would know. Right. Because I own up to everything. And I know I didn't do anything but be a great father and provide for my children the best way I could. I'm gonna give you a great situation to help explain. When my daughters was young, they had a birthday party that I paid for, like amusement park, rented the whole amusement park. My mom was there, my sister was there. My sister was pregnant at the time. My oldest daughter told her mom, I want to cut the cake and give my daddy the first piece.
Wow.
My oldest daughter, the one I'm best friends with. And it's both of their parties, because their birthday is September 2nd and 4th.
Right.
Her mom screams in front of everybody, "He'll get a piece," this type of person. "He'll get a piece when I say he get a piece." Right? Just embarrassed my daughter. So my daughter, in front of everybody, she just run back crying. So I'm grabbing my daughter. I'm like, by the time I get to grab my daughter, my sister was pregnant, right? My mom had got up to go cut the cake. Like, you're not finna be embarrassed. You're not finna do this. I didn't pay for all this. My son, you know how my mom is. You're not finna do this to my son. She gets up and get ready to go cut the cake, and she kind of pushes my mom. So my sister ends up hitting her. And so after all this happens, wow, right, this how I know I've always done right. After all this happened, her mom grabs my daughters and give them to me. She say, "Take your children home. You deserve to have your kids." So I knew I didn't do nothing wrong. And she knew how her daughter was and how evil she was to me. So that's the type of stuff I've been dealing with this woman for a long time. And my other two, it's just been about money with her. It's just been about money the whole time. That's the one that I was, my wedding was getting ready to start. And I had been telling her 2 months before we was going to Texas, look, I'm telling you now, you need to sign this prenup because I'm telling you, don't try me when I get there. You're not going to dictate how I take care of my mama, my sister, and all that. I know what you up to, and by the fact that we going through this, it's showing me a different side of you because we never had these type of conversations.
Yeah.
So, and with still my heart, a month is a month. We're getting ready to go down to prepare for the wedding that week. She still hasn't signed it. So I'm like, look, bro.
What was the argument? I just want to know.
It really wasn't no argument. She kept saying she was going to sign it. I'm going to sign it. I'm going to sign it. But kept getting the attitude every time I brought it to her. So I'm telling her, I'm like, look, I'm going to embarrass you in front of all these people. Don't do it. Like, don't do it. But she know my heart. Like, she know my heart. And she thought that we was going to get there. Everything was going to be set. I was going to be dressed. And I wasn't going to turn back right there. I was going to have Kofi, you know what I'm saying, go through with it. So I'm sitting in the back and I got, Mike, Bibby, Stephon Marbury, all people who really love me, know what I've been through to get to this point. Everybody's so happy for me. Rest in peace, my grandmother. My mom was on her way to the wedding. My mama told me this after the wedding. My grandmother told my mom, it ain't gonna be no wedding today, on the way to the wedding. So not even knowing what was going on, she just said it out the blue. So while we back there getting dressed, we had a nanny at the time because we just had a daughter. And I'm telling her, I'm like, man, go get it. I'm not gonna do it. I don't wanna do this. So she keeps going back, trying to pull her out. And my sister's in the room because my sister was in the wedding. So my sister's in the room, so all her bridesmaids are telling her not to sign it. Telling the girl, they in the room with my sister. So my sister walked out and just came in where the men was and just basically told me what was going on in there, right? So I told her to go back. So to go back, and I said, and I talked to Steph and them, and, broke down for a minute. Start crying for a minute. I'm just trying to figure it out. And I'm glad I had my boys there. They was like, bro, you can't do that, bro. You work too hard. Like, it's something up, you know what I'm saying? So I called it off. I ended up wasting like close to $400,000 on the wedding, just wasted, and we ended up just, partying, and our relationship never been the same since. We ended up having another son afterward, ended up getting back together and dating and trying to make it work for my daughter, and the same thing ended up happening. The same thing ended up happening.
And she never said why she wouldn't sign.
I know why. Yeah, she had motives. It's been the whole time.
Josh, I have a question for you. Why don't you think that the woman, how she feels, matter? Because a breakup is devastating. It can be devastating. And that mental health is important, especially when they raising your children. So why not have some level of concern about how they feel or how it impacts them or how it affects them? Because if you don't, if you just be dismissive towards a woman's emotion, she's gonna utilize that.
It's gonna be devious.
It's gonna be messy and crazy.
So I'm gonna respond to that when we get back, but that's definitely not what I was expressing when I was getting my thought out. But we'll get back to it. Relationships Matter, the podcast, when we get back.
Relationships matter. So before we went to break, I was asking Joshua a question in regards to why doesn't the women, the mothers of your children, why don't their emotions or how they feel matter, especially when you guys are separating and you got to raise kids together?
So to clarify that wasn't what I was saying, right? Because I saw you was about to start barking.
You know it.
Yeah, because that's why you got to take a second and breathe. What I wanted to address was, no matter what's going on between mom and dad, everybody and their mama know children are off limits, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my, exactly. But that was the point that I was making, because he mentioned that he ain't talking bad about the mothers. Like, if he speaks his truth or whatever the facts are, that's not necessarily talking down or bad about, but somebody gonna want to know something.
Right.
But it's viewed that way. That's how the game is played. Like, oh, he's just mad, or this ain't it. This is my actual experience. I'm just saying, from the standpoint, no matter what he did, his mistakes, no matter what she did, her mistakes, you leave the kids out of it. That's why I was saying, when you were like, well, if they move on, you don't think, and I was like, it doesn't matter who does what. Okay. That's what I was referring to. Explain
what you mean when you say leave the kids out of it.
So I'm sure you know, you got court documents, I got court documents. There literally is verbiage in the document where it says to not talk disparagingly about the other parent, you leave them out of adult matters, like all of those things, because that is damaging to a child.
Yes,
Right.
okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying from the standpoint of, no matter what's going on between the adults, these kids have nothing to do with it. And if both parties are definitely concerned about the child, then you do what's in the best interest for the child. You know what I mean? We grow, we learn, we all make choices. We live a life that we live. But when it's about your child, that's who comes first in that situation. So that's what I was referring to.
I agree with you to a certain degree, because a lot of times I don't want it to be misconstrued that we do what's best for the child, but behind all that, you are dismissing how they feel, because a lot of times you run into this issue when you've been dismissive toward them. And then when it comes to the child, it spills over into that relationship because you haven't addressed that other issue. That issue has to be addressed.
Chanel.
Like if you think you're going to walk out of a situation and not address their emotions, not address how they feel, ignore them, then you got another thing coming, and it's going to be problems in your co-parenting. They're going to use the child as a pawn, first of all. We know that. So I feel like if it doesn't work out, then my motto is don't leave them in pieces. Leave them at least if you have a conversation and talk about what went wrong and stand on that, then you've done your part. But if you just dismissive, I ain't taking your call, I'm ignoring you, but I want my child, that ain't never gonna work.
Chanel, one thing you should understand is there are many people who don't want to have a peaceful conversation and get closure, for one. So now that there are children involved, you might as well put that out the way, because somebody's gonna play games for the most part. There's a higher percentage of people that are in these dysfunctional situations the same way, you know, with his experiences, I got my experiences. And to be honest, even you know, shared a little bit about your experience growing up. Some people just aren't trying to have conversations, whether it between two partners, even homeboys. Like how many times you probably got some partners you done fell out with, you in a different place, you want to speak to it, but they on what they on. So you just like, all right, bro, I'm gonna move on from it. Like, I wish in a perfect world we could do that, where we can come together and say, hey, like, this is what it is, and we can move on. Everybody's not on that. So that's what I'm speaking to, that part, because there's a lot of people that are dealing with what he's dealing with. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And it's not easy. And I resonate, bro, like with that pain. I resonate with that hurt, you feel me? But I don't know how to personally express it other than keep pushing, because you just become, it's just like being in a game. People saying what they saying, but we know how to do what? Perform. And that's what it turns into. And nobody gets to really see you because you at the crib, and that's how you got to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm still trying to learn how to deal with it, because I'm getting hit with something every day. What I should have addressed yesterday, I can't even address it because today is something else. You know what I'm saying? And my situation is something else. It's the disrespect. It's the, you know, the racial terms. It's the alienation from my kids. It's the fact that you got women who try to put other men in position, bro, like they got a dad. They ain't got to play that. You feel me?
I got a question though for both of you, because it sounds like it turned bad. At some point, you got the racial slurs, you got the disrespect. These are character flaws, right? These are things that was embedded in them before you got to the point where you are right now. So at what point did you ignore them or didn't pay attention to them? Because they're the same people they've always been.
Ain't no man on earth paid over $10 million that don't love their kids in child support. I'm sorry. It just don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I know guys who have probably ain't made $100,000 in their life, and they the greatest dads ever. You know, so I understand what I did for my kids and what I sacrificed and what I worked for, the hard money I worked for that I know my kids did not benefit from. Because my kids shouldn't have to turn 18 and go into college after, when they were 4 and 5, I was paying their mom $18,000 and $10,000 a month child support, and they get 18 and I still got to buy you a car when you graduate. Where all the money at?
Right.
But daddy wasn't doing that. Daddy wasn't doing that. Daddy was paying y'all. Y'all just didn't know what daddy was doing because y'all wasn't seeing the money. But I'm not the type of person to call you, I'm paying this much a month. That's, I never did that to my kids.
Right.
Until they got to adult ages where you still being disrespectful and thinking daddy didn't do nothing. Okay, well, you old enough, I can sit you down. Look at this. Since you was such and such, and look how much I paid your mama, how come you don't have a car? Go ask your mama where the money at. Oh, you don't feel it, you're not mad at daddy because you see these numbers. And sometimes you got to sit them down to see stuff in real time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But you got to wait till they get a certain age where they can understand it on their own. So a lot of stuff is common sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It just is no way that my kids could actually possibly think I'm a bad father with the things I do and how I show up and show when I've been so disrespected.
Right.
I could have easily walked away and just turned my back, but I never did.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm standing on that side of the fathers that through the ups and downs, good and bad, we gonna be there. We gonna take whatever we gotta take for our kids to know we love them and have a relationship with them. And it may look crazy at times. I may not be right. I don't have all the answers because there's no playbook to it.
Right.
But I'm gonna do my best and make those mistakes alone. But I'm gonna own those mistakes. I'm gonna be there regardless, whether she hated or not. I'm gonna be there.
But that's the part that bothers me because I feel like if you don't, let's say, for example, something goes wrong with technology. You can't print out receipts. Now what?
Mm-hmm.
What can your child measure your love to, which it sucks.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? But to answer your question, and he spoke to it, but I'm going to use his example for my response. He was about to marry somebody that was holding on up until that last moment.
Mm-hmm.
People can play the game for a year, 2 years. So these character flaws, right? You'll pick up on something, but it might not be to the extreme in which you start dealing with it now that y'all are definitely on two different pages.
Mm-hmm.
And in my experience, I had the woman that said, I love you. I'm so willing to do X, Y, and Z. Oh, don't worry. You're going through a little rough patch. I'm here. I'm going to support you. I got you. And then all of a sudden, when you tell them no and they ain't getting what they want, now that person really shows who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us, which people don't admit that, it don't matter how healed you are, you could still attract an unhealed person. You could still deal with somebody that is broken and toxic and negative, and they just been wearing that mask until the right time.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, the baby's already on the way. For other people, the marriage is already under, you know what I mean? Like the date is approaching.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can play their part literally, until that moment of deciding factor where he was like, look, if you don't do this, we ain't doing it. And not many people can say that they can do that.
I commend you on that.
You know what I'm saying? So I commend you, and I hope that I was able to answer your question.
Yeah.
But excuse me, I'm all over the place. But when we get back, my dog got me, Lord have mercy. This thing got hot up in here. So when we get back, I want to take a dive into my man's spiritual side.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about that growth and development. When we get back, Relationships Matter, the podcast.
Relationships Matter. Welcome back to Relationships Matter, the podcast. So before we went to break, Josh had a question about Stack's spirituality.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, and I've been burning the ass or just had this conversation for years now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because, playing against you, being a teammate,
eating all my groceries.
Eating
Throw that in there.
Yeah.
Eating food.
Ain't me out of house and home for 2 years.
But how's this transition been for you? Obviously, it has added and it's just my opinion, you can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it's added a different layer of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just talk about this transition, finding your faith, you know what I mean? And how it's been beneficial for you personally, but in your relationships, nothing business-wise, because you know what I'm saying? That's going to, you're going to be blessed with that. But I feel like those two things, you know what I mean? How has that benefited you?
Well, for me, a lot of people don't know. If you look back when we won the championship in 2003, it's the interview that I came out with. I thanked Allah because I was just always studying and thinking about it my whole life. I think it got to a point where during the time, the George Floyd, and as I got older, I know there's a lot of things I was told as a child is not true today. You know, a lot of stuff I don't believe that I was told as a child I know not true today. So I started trying to educate myself and learn for myself without being told something. And during all the years, me studying and, hanging with other Muslim brothers and asking them questions, um, during the George Floyd time, I was going through a time where I was really down. I was going from state to state, trying to protest and stand up for him to get justice. And I was going weeks without eating, and I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? It was just frustrating. I was seeing just so much going on. And
was it only because of that situation, or was it other things in your life as well?
During that time.
During that.
It was just that at that time.
Okay.
It was just dealing with that, seeing his daughter after ask her questions and just trying to be somebody, that I had no play. I didn't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? I was just trying to stand up for his daughter and try to stand up for him. And during that course, like, I kind of lost everything, you know what I'm saying? Because I was getting death threats. I thought the world was cruel when it happened to Georgie, but with me fighting for him and they seeing somebody that looked just like him, I seen how much more evil this world is, bro. The death threats that we were getting, just the hate that was spewed my way and just spewing to people, it broke me down.
What's the difference between those death threats and then coming up the way that you came up? Because, I mean, it's not like you're not new to violence or...
Yeah, the death threats are growing up or with me being in places that I shouldn't be or doing things that I probably shouldn't have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
But getting death threats when you're trying to do something to benefit the whole world or do something positive, that's a whole different feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They coming from everywhere. So during that time, I had, started reading the Quran more, you know what I mean? Because I didn't have, like I said, I wasn't eating, so I was just trying to figure it out, man. And I woke up one morning and I called Tone Trump, my homeboy out of Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And I have so many Muslim brothers in Philadelphia. I woke up one morning, bro, and I hadn't planned it or nothing. I woke up one morning, I called him like, bro, I want to take my shahada. And he was like, what? I'm like, I just feel like today is the day. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't know in Islam, when you take a shahada, all your good deeds come with you. All your bad deeds are erased. So I had a fresh start after I took my shahada. And I knew from reading what that fresh start meant for me. Because like I told you, I was lost.
Yeah.
Like I was really lost. Like I never been so skinny. I was just trying to be what everybody wanted me to be. You know what I'm saying? They wanted me to be Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? They just wanted me to be here. And I was physically being there. I was physically everywhere they wanted me to be, but I wasn't there, bro. Inside, I wasn't there. I was being what everybody wanted me to be, putting my life on the line, doing all kind of stuff that I never thought I would do. And so when I decided to go take my shahada, I knew it was a chance for me to get back into what's important, and that's thanking and having a relationship with the person who I'm asking to protect me, who I'm asking to continue to bless me and protect my kids, and not just out here naked, because that's how I felt.
Yeah.
I felt I was out there naked. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you had people telling me, Jack, you this, you that, but in real time, I had nothing. So I went there, and that was the best decision I ever made, bro, because I don't have, if something annoys me during the day or frustrates me or takes me out of my character, it doesn't last long because I got to pray 2 hours from now. We pray 5 times a day. So anything negative in my life, it don't last. Because by the time I got to pray, it's gone. I don't even think about it more. By the time I'm done praying, I'm thankful for everything. My mind is clear. I'm back to focused on what I got to do in real time and what's important. So that's the best benefit of it for me. That anytime the devil try to work, is whatever he doing is gonna hit a dead end, because when it's time to pray, everything stop. And that's the biggest thing for me. I don't harbor on things. Anything negative, it don't last long. Just off the specific point that I got to pray 5 times, or I got to pray in the next 2 hours, and that helps me out a lot, especially during the course of a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, like, just you sharing that, I'm a Christian, but you sharing that in that anything negative that goes on in your day, and then 2 hours later, I think I'm going to implement just that regimen for sure. Right? Yeah.
For sure. I want to take the time, brother, because, publicly I say it, or privately, excuse me, but publicly I want to tell you, man, I love you, dog. I appreciate you. I don't really have the right words, brother, because, I feel that we relate to each other in so many different ways, from pain to good moments to, the way that we grow up, even the way that we see the world.
But I made you a captain on my team, too.
You did. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Random, but yes.
Super random.
But as we close, and I think this is extremely powerful, I watch you a lot. I know you've had moments. I know you've been able to share things and express things, whether it's been privately or publicly, platforms or whatever. I want you to do two things and dig deep. First thing is, look into whichever camera you need to, probably that one. But talk to your kids real quick. And tell, I need for you to do this, bro, because I want them to see this. I want them to know you. You know what I'm saying? Like, not take the cape off, bro. This for you right here. This is a healing moment.
To my kids, I love you, first off. You knowing and appreciating me and knowing that I love you, all that matters to me. You knowing that I've been there my whole life, your whole life, that's all that matters to me. It'll never be a day, as long as I'm breathing, that I'll turn my back on you. It'll never be nothing that'll be said that'll make me turn my back on you. I haven't always been perfect, but I've always been there. And I take blame for whatever, all my wrongs and anything that's happening during your lifetime to this point, but I would never accept someone saying that I don't love my children and I'm a bad father. And I just love you deeply. That's all of us.
Before we close this show out, I challenge you to do the same thing.
But I got one more.
I need you to do that, though, before we close out. I really do. With everything that you've been experiencing as of late, I need you to do that.
Man, you can't ask me to do it, and you ain't there.
I need you to do that. That's important. Put that on record.
We're going to go well over time.
That's okay.
To Patience, Hayden, Deuce, Landon, Arabella, Yanai, Yoav, I love you dearly, but not through my words, but through my actions. And my actions look like accountability. My actions look like failure. My actions look like consistency. My actions look like forgiveness. My actions look like me continuing to fight in the best way that I can. I haven't handled every moment the way that I would have loved to. I haven't handled your mothers the way that I probably should have, or any other situation or circumstance. But I'm doing the best that I can based on what I was given. I'm breaking free of trauma. I'm breaking free of pain. I'm breaking free of so many different habits that were formed over 40 years. And I'm grateful to be here as a better man, as a better person. And no matter what's said or no matter how it's viewed, please know that I will always be there for you. You only get one father. You only get one father just like you only get one mother. I cannot be replaced and I will never be replaced. But don't give up on me the same way I haven't given up on you. So much more, but I just had so much emotion that just kind of just came because it, you know what I'm saying? It does hurt. You feel me? Like it is painful to constantly go through all of these things and to try to prove to people, you know, that you're there. So I hope that y'all are appreciative of it. I hope that you're able to see it one of these days. If I'm alive and can, you know, be there. That's what I'm really hoping and praying for. So.
All right, close with that.
Lastly, as we close it out, my brother, you do so much for the world. You do so much for so many other people. I'm about to ask you another question that I know you've never been asked before. I want you to look at that camera again, and I want you to talk to yourself. Because everything is always about everybody else. What would you like to say to you?
If I was saying something to myself, I would say, you're doing better than you think you are. Stop being so hard on yourself. And be proud of how far you came. That's what I would say.
Stack, thank you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Chanel and I definitely appreciate, you know, you giving us a different version of you. And that's not easy. I know it's something I struggle with, you know, even right now, but, you know, I'm a work in progress too, brother.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
So I just want to tell you, man, I appreciate you for stepping outside of your comfort zone to come here to speak about relationships, to talk about, you know, the different experiences and things that you've gone through. We truly appreciate you, man, and thank you for sharing this platform. I know this is going to help a lot of people.
Love y'all, man. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
It comes back to who you are. You feel me? So at the end of the day, God's mission was accomplished.
Yep.
So till next time, relationships matter. Y'all check us out, man. We appreciate y'all. Relationships matter.